Hello dear learners, happy to meet you once again. I hope everyone is learning basics and fundamentals of programming in C from my existing lecture series. As usual, this is Dr. Sedhupathy, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science with Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, Dr. SNS Rajalakshmi, College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. So today we are going to discuss about looping control statements in C language. Dear learners, agenda for the discussion about looping control statements will be introduction, limitations on loops, looping methods or types, and tips and traps while using looping statements, and important considerations while using loops in C language. See, introduction for the looping statements. Basically, in programming languages, a loop is used to repeat a block of code until the specified condition is met. Purpose of using looping statement is to perform actions repeatedly with variations in details. So, analogy behind this is similar to real life activities like eating a good dinner or going for a movie multiple times repeatedly. So methods are repeat a portion of program segment either a specified number of times or until a particular condition is satisfied. Basically, the number of iteration may know at the beginning level itself, or you can give conditions inside the looping statements to exit from the looping. So there are certain limitations on loops. Let's go regarding sequential and decision control instructions. So basically, sequential calculations are carried out in a fixed order, and decision control is like appropriate set of instructions are executed based on the outcome of condition. So limitations about the existing segment of code or existing programs are like executed the same series of action exactly once, and often some of the tasks need to be repeated multiple times with variations. The variations may be given as conditions during runtime. And while coming to looping methods or types, generally in C programming language there are three types of loops, namely for loop, while loop and do while loop. So for loop is used when the number of iterations or number of times the block of statement be executed is known at the beginning itself, whereas in while loop, when the number of iterations is not known in advance and the loop depends on a condition, the condition is given inside the looping block. Also, the while loop statement is called as entry control statement because in while loop the conditions are tested at the beginning of the statement itself. And coming to third looping statement is do while loop, which is actually similar to the while loop, but it ensures the loop is executed at least once, which means do while loop executes the set of statements inside the block at least once and then it checks for the condition. Again, if condition is true, it goes back to the beginning of the block and again it executes. So this statement also called exit control statement. And tips and traps while using looping statements. While executing looping statements within the while loop, execute as long as the condition evaluates true. Termination is like when the condition becomes false, control passes to the first statement after the loop body. While giving condition, it can be any valid expression that evaluates to a non-zero value. And you can also using operators inside the condition part of any loop. The conditions can use relational or logical operators. And there are some important considerations while using looping statements in C language. Conditions you are giving must become false at least once. So, you're supposed to ensure the loop tests a condition that will eventually become false to avoid infinite loops. You're supposed to give a condition in such a way the looping statement must end at least once in certain case. Otherwise, the loop will become indefinite. And a second consideration, this may not be that much important, but for a beginner, you're supposed to know the single line or block of commands reside inside a loop. The statements within the loop can be a single line or a block of statement. Parentheses are optional for single line, which means you can give parentheses as optional for single line command, whereas you are using more than single line command inside a looping statement, parentheses are mandatory. Thank you for your patient listening, dear learners. We'll meet you with some other looping statement and also the 3 different loops like for, while and do while with real-time examples. Thank you so much once again, dear learners.